How to set boundaries without guilt in midlife. One of the hardest things about midlife is realizing that the life that is exhausting you is often the life you built by abandoning your own needs. And what makes it even harder is that many women don't even realize that they're doing it. They just know they're tired, emotionally tired, mentally tired, constantly needed, constantly carrying, and yet the moment they try to set a boundary, they feel guilty. They feel selfish, cold, difficult, like they're letting people down. And if that sounds familiar, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Susie Dunn, and I'm a counsellor therapist and someone deeply passionate about helping women reconnect with themselves emotionally, mentally and spiritually, especially in midlife where so many women silently lose themselves beneath responsibility, caregiving, pressure and expectation. And honestly, this is something I've had to learn myself too, because like many women, I spent years being the dependable one, the strong one, the emotional available one, the person everyone came to. And while there is beauty in being caring and compassionate, there comes a point where constantly prioritizing everybody else begins to disconnect you from being yourself. And often that disconnection shows up as anxiety, resentment, emotional exhaustion, burnout, numbness, and even breakdown. So in this video, I want to talk about why boundaries feel so hard for women in midlife, why guilt shows up when you finally try to set them, and how to begin protecting your peace without becoming somebody you're not. Because boundaries are not about being harsh, they're about finally becoming honest. Most women were never actually taught healthy boundaries. They were taught, be kind, be accommodating, don't upset people, keep the peace and think about others first. And many women learned very early that love, approval and safety comes from being useful, being easy, being helpful, being needed. So over time, people pleasing becomes a survival, and by midlife, many women have spent decades emotionally managing other people, carrying invisible labour, suppressing their needs, and over-functioning for everyone around them. And the scary part is, it becomes normal. You become so used to overgiving that rest feels uncomfortable. Silence feels uncomfortable, disappointing someone feels unbearable, and that is why boundaries can feel emotionally threatening even when they are healthy, because your nervous system may associate boundaries with rejection, conflict, abandonment, criticism, or losing love. That is why guilt shows up, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something unfamiliar. Sometimes guilt is not a sign you're hurting someone. Sometimes guilt is simply the feeling of no longer betraying yourself. The problem is, the body eventually keeps the score. And this is often what we see in midlife. Women arrive in therapy saying things like, I don't know who I am anymore. I feel emotionally numb. I'm angry all of the time. I love my family, but I feel trapped. I have nothing left to give. And often beneath that is years of emotional self-abandonment, because when your life revolves around meeting everybody else's needs, eventually your own inner world starts screaming for attention. And midlife intensifies this. Hormonal shifts can lower emotional tolerance. Children may still need you. Parents may begin needing you. Relationships shift. Careers become overwhelming. Your body changes. And suddenly, the coping mechanisms that work for years stop working. This is why so many women break down in midlife, not because they are weak, but because they have been emotionally carrying too much for too long. There is actually growing research around emotional labour and caregiving burnout showing that chronic emotional responsibility increases stress, anxiety, depression and physical exhaustion in women. And many women are carrying emotional loads that nobody even sees, remembering everything, managing everyone, anticipating needs, keeping relationships emotionally functioning, and that is labour, even if nobody validates it. I think many women misunderstand boundaries. Boundaries are not punishments. They are not walls, and they are not about controlling other people. A boundary is simply, this is what I can and cannot continue to do without harming myself. That's all it is. And healthy people may not always like your boundaries, but they will eventually respect them. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries may struggle more, and that can be difficult emotionally, especially if your identity is being built around being needed, but your worth cannot be measured by how much you sacrifice yourself. That is not sustainable love. That is survival conditioning. So how do you actually begin, especially if your boundaries feel terrifying? 1. Start small. You do not need to completely transform overnight. Sometimes boundaries begin with not answering messages immediately, asking for help, saying, I can't do that today, taking time before agreeing to do things, or allowing somebody else to be disappointed. Small boundaries teach your nervous system, I am still safe even when I prioritise myself, and that matters. Number 2, stop over-explaining. Many women feel they need a courtroom level explanation for every boundary, but over-explaining often comes from fear of disapproval. You are allowed to say, I'm unavailable, that doesn't work for me. I need some rest, I cannot commit to that right now, without even earning your right to say it. Number 3, expect discomfort. This is important. Setting boundaries may initially feel wrong, especially if you are used to over-functioning. You may feel anxious, guilty, selfish, but discomfort is not danger, it's adjustment, and sometimes the people around you also need time to adjust to the healthier version of you. Number 4, notice where resentment lives. Resentment is often a boundary that has been ignored for far too long. So instead of judging your resentment, become curious about it. Ask yourself, where am I saying yes when I really mean no? That question alone can change your life. Personal connection and emotional depth. And honestly, I think many women reach a point in midlife where they realise, I have spent so much of my life being who everybody else needs me to be, at that I don't even know what I need anymore. And that can feel deeply emotional, because healing in midlife is not just about reducing stress, it's about reconnecting with yourself, your voice, your needs, your identity, and your peace. And sometimes the most healing thing a woman can say is, I matter too. Not after everyone else, not after everything is done, but now. When women begin setting healthy boundaries, something beautiful happens. They become less resentful, more emotionally regulated, more present, more authentic, because they are no longer constantly operating from depletion. And contrary to what many women fear, healthy boundaries do not destroy relationships. They often reveal which relationships are healthy, because relationships built on your self-sacrifice were never balanced to begin with. And this is something I often remind my clients. You can be compassionate and still have boundaries. You can be loving and still say no. You can be kind without abandoning yourself. So, if you've been feeling overwhelmed lately, emotionally exhausted, guilty for needing space, guilty for wanting rest, I want you to know this. Your needs are not an inconvenience. Your exhaustion is not weakness, and setting boundaries does not make you a bad person. It makes you a person who is finally listening to themselves, and perhaps for the first time in a very long time, this is exactly what you need. If this resonated with you, let me know in the comments. What boundaries are you currently struggling to set? And if you are on a journey of healing, self-awareness, emotional well-being, and reconnecting with yourself in midlife, I'd love for you to like and subscribe and join my community. You are not alone in this, and you do not have to keep carrying everything by yourself. So please take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next video.